Hi guys, and welcome back, or welcome if you're new. So I've had some requests, I've had some questions, and I've just seen general questions on forums as well about the exact same thing. And I've decided to show my input on this specific question. So people find bedding and bedrooms kind of boring in the sense that they want to add some deco, but they don't quite know how. So I've decided to make a video in which I give you guys some ideas and some inspiration. So I've created a couple of different rooms here that we will use for this. All right. The first thing I recommend is creating yourself a collection folder called bedding, because some of the bedding that you download end up in places where you don't really expect them. Some of them are in deco, miscellaneous, some of them are in statues, and it's kind of all over the place, and it makes it hard to find what you need. So I actually, when I was younger, I never really used these folders, but they're really handy, and they can really help you find things that you usually struggle with. So I highly recommend creating yourself a folder like that and making sure that you have all loose blankets, pillows, anything that you think you might be able to use with beds in this folder. Alright, so here I have a folder that I'm calling bedding. Alright. And I have a couple of things that I've accumulated over the years. I cannot remember where I got all of this from. Some of these things are just things from the game, and some of them, I've downloaded specifically. The first thing that you can do is you can actually just download recolors for bed covers. Right, there's a lot of different recolors available. That's really beautiful. Let's start with something simple. I'm just going to use this bed as an example, and literally just updating the amount of bed covers you have. Let's just get to some custom. You can see what an amazing difference it makes. Let me just make this. If you just have a couple of different covers, then you can really create different looks for your Sims. To begin with, you can go neutral, you can just add little bits of color, or you can add something that, gives your room a completely different look. So there's really a lot of different ones out there. This is perfect for kitties. As you can see, that alone makes a huge difference. Okay. For this video, I'm just going to use something neutral like this. Now, if you wanted to, you could just add a couple of loose pillows to this. You don't need to add a whole separate blanket and bedding if you don't want to. There are sets like this. This one, I will butcher this name. Hobanzu, but this is from the Sims resource. You could just add pillows. Now, sometimes you will get some clipping. I do recommend having something like shiftable everything, because then sometimes by just clicking it one up, you can actually still use it, and then it's not clipping anymore, So Lamar's shiftable everything mod is really a game changer for me, and I do use this. But look at what a difference just adding this would make, and I still have the original underneath. Okay. You get separate blankets like this one. Also, this is also from the Sims resource. But now, of course, depending on what bed you have, this might not work. So, what works for one bed might not work for another one. Then, these sets I really love. by Mystic Rain. Not sure where I got it from, cannot remember exactly, it's been a while. But these have separate pillows and separate covers. Now you will see, if I just use it on the grid, it doesn't work well. But, and by the way, this is because of shiftable everything that I can do this. Otherwise you would need OMSPs, which is possible, but is a really big pain, I can tell you. Alright, so what I use is snap. I use obviously move objects on, and then I use snap objects to grid false. Okay. Now I can move it anywhere, and this is where the magic comes in, because now I can make sure it doesn't flip. I can check at what height I want it, and I can check from all angles that I'm placing it so that it looks nice. Then the cover that comes with it, there's lots of different recolors to this, really nice. Okay, but let's just stick with the original. And again, you would have to place it on OMSP if you don't have this mod that lets you shift everything. Again, you'll have to look at what bed you have. If it's a bed that has kind of a foot area, it might be more difficult to place it. So it might be easier to just use a bed that don't have this if you want to use these covers. But as you can see, this gives a completely different look to your bed. Alright, so really handy, really useful, and I recommend it. Okay. If you don't want to go that extreme, you could just use loose pillows and loose blankets. So this is the Jonesy blanket, as it's affectionately referred to. You only get a certain amount of recolors when you start off and just regularly download it. I can't speak for some reason. But a lot of different creators have made loads of recolors for this. So, I mean, if you just type in Google Jonesy blanket Sims 2 recolors, you will get a huge amount, a really nice variety of these. Let's choose something that can go in a burgundy room. Maybe something neutral. Okay, this could be neutral. Alright, again, using a bed that has a bottom makes it a bit more challenging, but you can move it around if you have your grid turned off. Then you can move it around. And the Jonesy blanket also comes in different varieties. Here's, for instance, a single bed version that you can use. You can get some that's ruffled up, messed up covers, some that's a little bit more neat. This one looks like it's fully covering the bed. And then there's also some pillows that go with it. Okay. This one is by Impish Parody, and it's on the original mesh by, is it Nengi65 at Sims Crossing? Okay. So just by adding a few loose pillows with this, let's see if we can find this one with a little moss on it. It's this one. You could now add some pillows to this, and you can decide how you want to make this bed appear. But look at the different looks that you can give just one bedroom set with all these different blankets and covers and things that you can use. So there's so much that you can do. You don't have to play a boring game where you just have the regular bed covers. You can really up your game and make it look extraordinary, Okay, let me show you. You also get sets like this. For instance, this one, I'm not sure where I got this one from. 37sims.com. So, okay. Problem is just, again, if you have something with a bottom, it makes it much more difficult. But anyway, this is a set that is complete with pillows, blankets, whatever, you know. So you get things like that too. If you want to just keep the regular covers and you just want to add some decorative pillows, here's an example of, oops, let me just put it on straight. Here's an example of that, you know. So there's so much that you can do and make it look completely different than another sim would have it. Now, if sims get on this, just the way that it is now, they will clip through. So it's a bit of a pain if you want to take a picture of them lying, relaxing on their bed, then it will look strange. There are plenty of mods out there that either make this disappear, make it whenever the bed is unmade or when a sim is relaxing. You could use that if this really bothers you. Otherwise, you know, you could remove it every time you have your sim get in bed. That's up to you. All right, but there's a lot of options out there, things that you can use. Now, these specific pillows, okay, Kansas City Rose. So, not sure on which site I got them exactly, but they also have a couple of recolors, which is very nice. Okay, and they have a blanket, a cover, they call it like a sloppy cover, that come with them. I'm not sure that this is fitting with the pillows. There's different recolors. Okay, maybe this was meant to fit with those pillows. But anyhow, depending on the look that you're going for, you know, you could just add this on top. So that's something that you can do. If you have loose pillows that actually come with a couch that you want to add, you could possibly do that as well. I'm not sure where I got this set from. Let's see what it says. It's again Kansas City Rose. Okay. It's actually love seat pillows. But look at what you can do by just using Shiftable Everything by Lamar and by turning your grid off. And of course, you should have moved objects on. You could add this to your beds, definitely, and it would give a completely different look. All right, so those are some ideas that you can use. I also have some loose, something like this, like by Mystic Rain, that's just loose pillows that you can use on couches, you can use on beds, basically anywhere that you want. And again, you would have to, I'm not sure if these go on OMSPs or if they are actually shiftable. Some of them were shiftable, but you could always just add them on the bed to give a different look, you know? So all of this makes such a difference to your deco. Here's one that's on a Sims 4 mesh, and that's converted by Pixelry. And if you look at all the nice recolors that's there, you know, you could add them. My suggestion with this is just that you look from different angles to just make sure that the pillow is not up in the air, you know, if you look at it from the side or something. But there you go. Look at the difference that you can make, the different looks you can get. You can also add, there's more loose blankets, like this one, Mao bedding. This one is a Sims Resource blanket that I found. This one would not work on a bed like this, but they come with plenty of recolors, and it's really nice as well. Here's another one that's a 4:2 conversion. It's a whole set, you know. So really handy ones that you could use. And you can create so many different looks. Here's another one. This one's from Mod The Sims, I guess. Okay, so here they actually mention a mod, Bed Unmade mod by Lamar, that you can use that basically helps you to turn off decorative blankets and pillows whenever your sim uses the bed. So, you know, it's very handy. I don't even have that mod in my game. I don't specifically care. If I want to take a photo of Sims, I set it up and I remove all these things. Here's another one. Let's see who did this. Chrissy. She's also telling you about Lamar's Bed Unmade mod. Berlin Bed Deco. Okay, so I think I have a couple of, oh, this is a different one, Natalia. So there you go. Look at all the different looks that you can give your rooms by adding just a few things, right? This one has a mesh by Vita Sims, cloned by Amy the Sphinx. This one's a Mod The Sims one. At the moment, just be a little bit careful. I don't know if they fixed the problems over at Mod The Sims with downloading. So obviously, if you want to go on a downloading spree, just watch out a bit, you know, until you know that it's safe. So, but anyway, look at all the different things you get. This one, Cadmium Bed Blanket by Wandy Moon. Not sure on which specific site I got this one, but you know, there's so many different things that you can do, and you can make it look really nice. So okay, let's try and decorate a couple of rooms like this and see what different looks we can create. So I'm going to choose different beds for each one. I mean, there's such a variety of beds out there that I think it would be good to have different looks. Okay, so let's sorry, I just need to put my grid on to put the bed down normally. We'll change the colors for the beds now. Okay, I should maybe use this one just to show you something different, and then let's see what other beds I have available. You get some beds, I'll just show you this, that already have everything on, but they don't always have a lot of recolors. I think this one, for instance, has only one recolor, you know, so that you can actually change the look of the bed. But yeah, Sims do clip through some of the deco, and this you cannot remove. This one, for instance, Alban Diane bed. I'm not sure where I got this one from. I've been hoarding CC so many years that I'm not sure anymore. Okay, let's use this one. Okay. Alright, so let's create some different looks quickly. I chose some neutral kind of colors for the walls. This is kind of a brownish color, just to show you what you could do. So let's quickly choose ourselves a basic bed cover. I'm gonna go for this that come with the Sims. It's not a custom one. Then here we have something in the browns. Now this bed comes with three colors. that just changes the top little blanket. So you get beds that already have something like this attached to it, so it already makes your bed look a little bit different without you having to add anything. Let's find something, something like that. This also comes with the Sims, by the way. And then for this one, that's not quite matching. Let's see. Something else perhaps. In a color that matches a bit better. Maybe. Let's see. I know I have loads. Loads of others. Yeah, maybe something like that. All right. So let's create some looks quickly. Okay, I'm going to start off with the burgundy room that we had, and I'm going to use this, right? You don't always just have to use lamps that's standing on your bedside tables. You can use some that's on the wall. Again, there's wonderful custom content out there. I have loads. I'm a bit of a hoarder when it comes to these type of things. Let's just go with this. Kind of a neutral look. I'm gonna put up the walls just so we're not distracted by the room next door. And you know, having, let's see what paintings we can add here, something that makes it look a little bit, something like this could be added perhaps. And see if we have anything else that can look nice over here. That would kind of fit with the room's look. What recolors do I have of this? I'm not sure that fits. No. Maybe just even a watch clock on the wall. Okay. So just look at what picture you're creating by just adding a little bit of deco around. You could, if you have little bedside tables that have an opening on the bottom, you could add a little plant there, something small. You could possibly, now this is where the folders come in. Look at my bedroom folder. This is just everything that I think I could possibly use in a bedroom. If I could redo this, I would probably split it up into children's rooms and adult rooms because it just became kind of a bit much. But let's say this is the ladies' side of the room. You could put something like this in the bottom. Oh, no, hang on. Here I have a loose hair dryer. That could work. So let's put a hair dryer there. You know, just to make it look a little bit more lived in. If you go to your bookshelf area, you could probably add a little bookshelf that makes it a bit, you know, look a little bit realistic. Like maybe there are people that enjoy reading. Next to your couch, you could have some seating perhaps. Let's see, what do we have here? I don't know if that's the look 100%, but let's see. What else do we have? Aha, wait a moment. Now, this one, I think, if I remember correctly, yeah, it clips into the wall a little bit. So now I'm turning off my grid and just moving it slightly to get it to not clip as much, something like that. And now look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to add some of these pillows that I had here. I'm not sure if the couch's pattern really matches. I mean, the color scheme can go, but maybe the pattern doesn't match. But okay, it doesn't matter, just to get my point across of look at what you can do with these pillows. So I have it on the bed, and now I'm adding it to the couch. You see, just to kind of bring it together. Let's change this pattern. It doesn't fit with the rest of the book. Okay, something like this, for instance. Let's add this little pillow. Let's just check from the side because we don't want it. And if you use the 45 angle degree cheat, you can kind of turn your things around. So look at what you're creating here. It's picking up what's on the bed. It kind of looks like maybe they didn't put all the bed pillows back. They left some of them on the couch, or it's a set that go together. Just look at the look that you can create. A warm, rich tone, you know. We can add a little rug over here. Let's see what we have that can possibly fit with this. I'm not sure. It could possibly, maybe this. This is a small one, but okay, this you cannot place unless you have the rug fixed, which I don't have in this save. You'll have to put it on the grid. You know, you cannot, because this is a Maxis carpet, the shade will make it look kind of strange. But okay, there you go. You could place something like this just to make it look cozy. And just look at the look that you're getting from this. Curtains, something cool that you can try out if you're looking for a way to just change up your curtains a little bit. There's wonderful curtains out there. But something that I do from time to time is I combine blinds and curtains. So look at this, for instance. I'm going to just move it down slightly. These are blinds. I'll tell you where they're from now. They're very handy. Venetian blinds, short by Symptomatic. They're from the Sims resource. Okay, so there you go. And now, by adding something on the side, you can give a completely different look. Look at this. Just look at what you're creating, you know. You only have 2 windows, but just by adding curtains to your blinds, you get a different look than when it would have just been curtains. You could do something like this instead if you feel the white is not working for you. There's another way that you can do it, something like that. Because in this room we've kind of combined creamy and white shades, so it gives you just that extra, you know. And now by just adding a plant or something like that, let's see what plants we have. Let's just move in a little bit more to my very overfull catalog. I do have an amazing catalog full of stuff. Let's do something like this. There you go. And we could have possibly a chair next to it if you wanted to. Probably. And you know, if you don't want to just have a chair that your Sims can sit on, you actually want to decorate it a little bit, you could do all sorts of things. Like, for instance, I have this that's obviously, it's a little camper's blanket, so it's something completely different. But if you're creative, let's just turn our grid off again. If you're creative and you have the shiftable everything mod, you could completely change the look of this. Let me just see if it's on the right angle. Something like this. You could completely change the look of it, like you have something hanging off of it. You could add, again, one of your pillows. If you don't specifically care that it would clip if your Sim is sitting on here, let's see if we're at the right height. Maybe not quite. You could do something like that and just look at what you're creating. Something completely different, and you know, something that people would not even expect to see. There you go. Completely different look for your Sims. You can, by the way, do so much with pillows. Just look at what you can create. If you have the space and you don't want your Sims to walk in a specific area, this is maybe not the right color. Let's get one in a different position, perhaps. And now I'm just changing the 45-degree angle. Just look at what you can do, you know, just by adding, it gives it so much more of a lived-in feel. And really, by using this grid off little cheat that they have, and the 45-degree angle one, if you have it accessible, you shouldn't have to sit and type it in. You can just use aliases for it. I'll make a separate video in which I show how you do that. And it's not my brainchild. I literally saw other people doing that. But just by using things like that, you can decorate on a whole other level. Just look at the picture that you're creating there. Completely different from the bland room that we started with. And of course, you need a changing area. So let's add a beautiful mirror to this room. Let's see, what do we have? Something that's not just a mirror on the wall. Maybe something like this. We got dark wood. Yeah. There's a mirror, but I can change it. I can, you know, let it kind of stand in the corner to give a specific effect. If I go to my bedroom folder where I have some something like this, for instance, you know, I could pretend that they left something on the floor over here. It doesn't necessarily fit with the room's aesthetic. But look at, for instance, this. This is something that came with a set. But I could pretend that this mirror has it kind of hanging on it. You know, look at that. Look at how you make this look lived in. I just love that you can do this because it just creates something completely different. A whole other look for the Sims bedroom. Here's another one. Here's a coat, for instance. But you could even layer these. So, well, I guess we could make it look like it's hanging from this hanger even. The clipping now. No. Okay. Sometimes it's like a, you know, a bit of a struggle to get it precise. But just look at what you're creating. You're taking a mirror that you will use in someone else's house without any deco, and maybe it will look very formal here. And here you're giving it a different look, a completely lived in, like the sim was trying on some clothes. And it's great for storytelling as well. If you just want to set up a specific shot where your sim is, you know, struggling to find the right outfit or something like that for your storytelling purposes, then you could absolutely do this type of thing. And by combining different things that you download over the years, I'm looking for something now that I know came with another set that I'll show you. Just bear with me a second. I don't see those heaps of folded clothing, for instance. Maybe it was under deco. No, I don't see it. But, you know, if you're making a very messy sim, look at this, for instance, you know? Just by adding that to the wardrobe. Oh, here's the folded clothing. Okay. So they also come in different recolors. And again, if you don't want to use OMSPs, this is amazing because using Lamar Shiftable Everything mod makes such a difference. And then just by adding you know, a 45-degree angle or something like that, it gives it a completely different look. So yeah, there's just so much that you can do with this. Let's add a nice painting on the top. Let's see what we have. Something that would kind of fit with the look of this room. Yeah, maybe something like that. And voila, a cozy bedroom. Okay, let's look at this one. So here you have a pretty blank canvas. And what shall we use for bedside tables? Let's use these. Okay, so what I want to show you with this is they're exactly the same, and it would be boring if, and kind of strange, if both bedside tables had everything exactly the same. But now you could add different things to it. For instance, let's add a pair of sneakers over here. So I'm going to do our snap object grid false, or off actually, and I'm going to sometimes what happens is if you do not have something on the bedside table, then it will want to automatically snap there. So let's see if I add in as if the shoes are kind of falling out over there. Just see that I have the right height. I might not have. Yeah, okay. So I don't really want to put the flowers here. It was temporarily. But let's go, for instance, to the book section and just see, do we have some books? Yes, we could add some books to this person's bedside table, some shoes, there are some flowers. Let's see, we could use this and we could cover up this black notebook so that it doesn't look exactly the same. Look at what you can do. There's so much that you can do in this game. This is an amazing game. It's wonderful. And just by adding a little bit of, this would clip through. Yeah, it's too big. Let's use something else. I want to just show you that you can do so much. You can add so many different things that could completely change. Of course, you have to be careful that you don't add things that prevent your sim from getting in and out of their bed, because you don't want that. Just want to see if there's something that I can possibly place in that container to make it look different. But this is too big. It would have to be something small. Okay, but you get the basic idea of what you can do there. Let's see, for instance, I'm putting a book inside of this one. It just changes it up a little bit, but that one's empty, this one is. So it's not the same. You get the idea. All right, now let's look at this bed. Let's use something from our section with bed blankets. Oh, wrong one. Okay, so here we do not have a bottom. So this type of blanket could easily be used over here. And again, if you have Lamar shiftable everything, clipping would not be an issue because you can move it where you want. Okay, let's go for the full. Since this room has some brown, let's add this over on top. Let's take this. See the height? Yeah, we don't want clipping. There we go. There's a little pillow in the middle. We could even have one at a different height. Let's just see. Just have to check from the side. Something like this. Just looking for something that's the right shade. I mean, not everything in real life matches 100%, but of course, you can try and get as close as possible. This look could work. Okay. There you go. So there you have another look. And I mean, it depends how crazy you want to go with it. You could completely go all out with it. At the right height. You know, something like that. Okay. And even if you wanted, I mean, we would need a flat one for this. Would this work? Is this a flat enough one? I'm looking for one that's lying down. Oops. Okay, so this probably I won't find one that's the right kind of color for this, but for instance, this is a Kilim floor pillow. Okay, it's something that was converted from The Sims 3. Look at what you can do. You know, if you wanted to, you could even add it to the bottom of your Sims bed. Look at the effect that you're getting just by doing that. It makes such a big difference to the whole look of the room. Now, something that I like about turning off your grid is if you want to place a painting. Let's say we wanted to place this one. I don't know if it's really in keeping with the room, but if you put this on the grid, it would probably look something like that or like that. You wouldn't be able to place it right in the middle. But if you turn off the grid, you could actually place it exactly in the middle. Something like that. And it would work. Okay, I'm not saying this painting necessarily fits here, but yeah, you get the idea. Okay. Something else that you could do, we have amazing pictures We have amazing pictures that you can download, picture frames. So here I have a combination of them. You get, this is a changeable one that's based on Aussie top enders. But I don't think this one can recolor, although DD has a version of it as well. This one is a gallery frame, vertical photo, Lucas Cardellini, Aussie top enders. Yeah, so a lot of it is based on this mesh that was by this creator, but then other creators kind of chipped in and made different versions of it. Here's a horizontal one. Now these frames you can place around, and then if your sim, you just click on it with one of your sims and say that you want them to take a photo basically, and you don't need a camera. The picture automatically comes into this frame. So there's a lot of different versions of this. This one is just your sim's portrait. So whatever picture you have of your sim down in the portrait, even if they're wearing their pajamas, they're going to probably have their pajamas on in this photo, I think, if I remember correctly. But you basically just get their portrait. I will quickly show you what you can do with photo frames. These are digital photos. So this is an edit of DD Sim portrait, but it's again all based on this Lucas creator, but then there's a 4:2 conversion by TVK Sim. So yeah, a lot of people are involved in to get to the final product. Let's just quickly see what you can do by adding a bunch of these photos together. So for instance, let's I don't know what look we're going for in this room. Let's see. For instance, let's go for black. Let's just kind of make it easy on ourselves. Here's different shapes and sizes. And by using the grid off and move objects on, I can create a whole wall for myself, for my sims. That was too high. With different size portraits placed in different ways that I, over time, can fill up with photos if I wanted to. Come on. I mean, just look at what you can do. What a difference it makes. If you add all these together, and what a wonderful wall you will be able to make full of your Sims photos and memories. Where's the photo? Okay, this isn't even placed nicely, but you get the idea, right? You could make an entire photo wall behind their bed. You could add a standing lamp, something that fits with this room's look. Let's see what we have. I'm not sure. Maybe something like this. You know, you don't need to just place regular bedside lights. You could have a standing lamp. You could have something on the wall. Let's see what we have available for this. There's a lot of different looks you can go for. I don't know if this one doesn't have white, so it might look a bit strange. One has a bit more. I'm not sure, is it in line with the bedside table? Something like this. You understand, you get the basic idea. You do not have to have everything exactly in line with each other, because real life people do not really live like that, that everything is always 100% in line. Let's add something like this. I know that it can clip. I wouldn't put it here because you probably wouldn't be able to let your sim get on the bed, but maybe at the foot and end of the bed. It of course depends. Do you want your sims to be able to use certain areas? Here's, for instance, a little stand with something hanging on it. You could add if you want to. Just by turning something a little bit, you get a completely different look. You know, it makes such a big difference. And let's add a rug over here on the bottom. I don't know this really. Maybe. Something like that. I don't know if that pillow probably clashes with it. Anyhow, that's something you could do for changing up your Sims cupboards a little bit. I mean, you could just go with this, but you could go with a built-in cupboard this time around. It doesn't always have to, or look what the black and white. Maybe that's a better choice for this room. By adding a cupboard like this. You could even combine cupboards. So for instance, if you decide, okay, I need my Sims room to look a little bit, you know, like they have a lot of cupboards. For instance, you could combine cupboards. You don't always have to have it the same way, and you could move them closer to each other so it, you know, gives a completely different look. Look what else you can do. If I place this here and I place some of the smaller cupboards, that kind of, I just have to, yeah, place it nicely. You could create a completely different look. Something like that. And then by placing things on top, so usually, yeah, there is this thing where sometimes like the mirror will not show up. Yeah, or it will show up higher simply because you have your cupboards there. So that's sometimes a problem with the mirrors, I've noticed, but okay. I mean, you don't have to have the mirror there. If you have the shiftable everything mod, you could put your mirror on the side. You could again add, I love adding plants to rooms like this. That's small, but look what you can do. You can place it on top of the Sims wardrobe and get a really nice look. That one might be clipping a bit, but maybe if we turn it. Okay, well that can be the one over there. And okay, maybe, I don't know, we don't really have other blue things in the room. Yeah, maybe something like that. Okay, so look at what you can create with this. You can really have amazing things. And if you want to add things on the wall that that, that kind of give a specific message or something like that. Just look at what you can do. Love, all you need is love, or things like that. Depends what look you're going for. If you're going for a teenage room, then obviously you would have a different style to someone with a formal bedroom. But just look at what you can do. Okay, let's get back to some curtains over here. So I think these are a bit small. Let's do something like that. Does it fit with the rest of the room? Oh, I think this has recolors in brownish shades. Yeah, there you go. I'll check what else I can recolor in this now. These are breezy curtain, left and right, a winged llama, and converted by Thimble Sims. I'm probably butchering that. Yeah, you could take the pole away if you wanted to. Depends on you, basically, how you want to do that. There's also some other things that you can do with this. Let me just show you. Sometimes, this one is by Stefor. I'm pretty sure I got this off the Sims resource. Sometimes by just adding things like this, you can, also give a different look. It doesn't just have to be curtains that you're adding. Sometimes you can combine things as well. This doesn't fit with a room, but you get the idea, depending on what bohemian look you're going for or what regular look you're going for. This one I think also had, this is in pink, but you could combine things like this, for instance. Let's see if there's a different color. Blue. The shadows might be a bit off sometimes if you're layering things. Here's a black. For instance, something like that, could be a combination that you do. To get a specific look, adding things like hanging clothes, for instance. You could add to your dressers, like I did with a mirror before. Let's just snap off. You could also add this type of thing to your dressers. Get the height right. To just make it look like it's lived in. People are actually hanging their clothing on their dressers and things like that, It just gives a completely different look. And if you have aliases that you can type in, I highly recommend that. I'll do a video about having a startup sheet where you just put aliases in, because that makes such a big difference to what you can do. If you have to sit and type in all your cheats every single time, I think it will drive you crazy and you just won't use them. Whereas if you have a startup sheet that you place in your game, you only place it once, it's there forever. It just makes such a nice difference. Okay, so another thing you can add to your pet's bedroom is their pets, Let's say we're placing our pet pillow here, and that's a scratch ball. What else? Something that makes it look a little bit This one is a claw satisfier, nature's claw satisfier. So something like this, you know, for your pet could be nice. Let's say you have a cat or something like that. What is this? It's a ball. Golden ball for toys for pets. Something like that, you know. If you add your little pet in the corner, and maybe on top of this you have some let me find hanging plants. You know, something like that. Just, it gives it a completely different look, and I really think that you can't go wrong with this type of things. You could use other things, like for instance, I really enjoy using shoes in my Sims room, because who of us haven't entered our house and just kicked off our shoes before? I'm sure all of us have at some stage, you know, not put them away properly. Something like that. Yeah, it just gives a very lived in look. Another thing you can add is like a gym bag, you know, a gym bag or a handbag. That's always a winner. Make your room look more alive and like someone actually lives there, you know? So let's move on to the next bedroom. Alright, so this is the bed that I showed earlier that have a loose blanket that comes with it, that you can only change into two variables, green or brown. And I'll just show you if you're changing it to green, then the whole bed turns to white. Otherwise it's brown, right? It's a minimalistic bed, Kansas City Rose bedroom set. Okay, so all I did was I used a regular bed covering that comes with the game. So let's quickly take a look at what else we can add. Alright, so we're going to start off with some loose pillows. See what we have that we can add. Alright, so again, you can just download loose sets like these that you can then use and place wherever you like. The best is to just look at different angles so that you can see that it's actually placed on the bed. And then of course you should look at clipping. Alright, so this is something you could do. This specific set is Country Bed Decor. It's from Mod The Sims. Oh no. Sorry. It says you can use Lamar's unmade bed mod from Mod The Sims with it. But it's a mesh by ATS. Okay. K8 Winterwood. Edit. Cloned by Amy the Sphinx. Amy the ST Phoenix. Yeah, something like that. Okay. I probably butchered that. Anyway, so that is something you could use, for instance. Otherwise, some other options. Here's an Anna Mackenzie bed deco. Let's see what this looks like. So you could completely cover this bed with something else if you wanted to. You would just need to look for clipping. Here's a whole different set. You see, now you're covering this blanket and it doesn't look the same anymore at all. So you don't need to be bound by this. If you want to use a specific bed, this is a very low bed, and you just don't want to see that blanket, you could use something like this. This would be another option. I think this one is a single bed version. No, you can use this as well. This one is Michelle Bed Deco. Alright, I think it was probably part of the same set. There was a set of bed deco that I downloaded. So this one has another loose blanket on top. So if you want to kind of make it look like the person was lying on top of the covers or something like that, this could work. You can see it's in this a similar style. I think this one, Kaz Promise Bed Deco, Mesh by Cassandra. It's also cloned by Amy, the same version as before. So this, I think this was all part of a set. Okay, there it gives it again a completely different look. So there's lots that you can do with loose covers that you can add to beds. Let me just see in this section if I have anything more. I don't think I have anything loose in this section. Doesn't look like it. Okay. So there's a few options then. If you just want to go for a loose pillows, again, it's helpful if you group these together. These pillows that I have, Living Sevens sofa cushion slave to Jonesy bed blanket and bedding. So let's get a color. Actually, yeah, this could work. Alright, so here we have some loose pillows that, I mean, you can obviously change colors as you please. You can decide at what height you want to put it if you use the Lamar shiftable everything mod. And you can decide if you want to place it in the middle. You just get rid of these for now. You can always go back to them if you want. But even just adding this would already make the bed look different than it would have looked if you didn't want to use the regular covers. Okay, we'll add a pair of shoes there just while I see them. Loose Killam floor pillow that you can use. Let's see if there's a color variant that will work for this. This one probably. So you could add a loose pillow. Now, unless you use an unmade bed mod or something that takes off decorations when your sun lies down, you're going to have clipping. So just keep that in mind. So something else that you can do, if the reason I took this bed is because it has this bottom kind of part. Something else you can do is if you, let me just see if this works. If it's on, yes. Is it? No, it's in there. Okay, we want to just drop this down. So that it looks like the person actually put some books down over there. And this shouldn't affect your sim getting into bed at all. Okay. Again, using this bottom part of the bed as if someone actually placed something there. Could work if this is some teenager room, someone who would do something like this. Now, these pillows that I use these a lot. Earth Living Cushion 3 Mystic Rain. I really love these pillows. They kind of fit with everything color scheme wise. And you can really build a picture out with them. You know, it just looks like someone dropped a pillow on the ground. It looks like it's part of the set. And yeah, you can always just look at routing, you know, just kind of make sure that your sim can pass by. But I usually leave space on the bottom anyway, so this should not affect your sim just walking around it. Yeah, if this is a teenager's room, you know, you could add some little stuffed toy or something like that on the bottom, as if they still have something left from when they were kids, you know. That's all things that you can use. Alright, so this bed, for me, I would be happy with this, right? And I didn't use anything, any separate blankets on here. This is something that just comes with a custom bed. And just by adding a few loose pillows in different colors, you got a completely different look than what you would have had if you didn't use any loose decoration. All right, now let's add something to the room. All right, now this is part of the set, so I'm just going to use this. Let's just quickly turn back on my grid. Right, going to put a little candle over here. I'm going to go for an open book here. Just put up on walls. Alright, let's look at some art, something we can hang up. Now, if this is a teenager's room, right, you will obviously decorate a little bit different than an adult's room. If you want to go for an adult look, you know, you could go in a direction like this. But if you want to go for a teenage room, then you might make it look a little bit more funky, if I can put it that way. So let's do something like that. Now, if you want to go African style, you could even do that as well. You could go a more earthy African look. Okay, so there's lots of different things you can do. Then, you know, you don't have to just do the regular thing. You know, you can change up your theme as you want. So that's an option as well if you want to go African. Maybe if you say, okay, this is too playful, I'm taking that away. I want to go more like young adult, but African style, more earthy in what you put on and into this room, then you can do that. There's lots of different options. And this is where it's fun when you have a sim that you have a specific personality planned for, because you can add things that you feel would suit this sim's personality, right? So look at the different look that you're getting from this. Whereas when we wanted to make it a teen bedroom, you would have added posters and things that looked more teenage, whereas here this could be a young adult that wants to go in a stylish direction, but kind of maybe African inspired a little bit. The bedding also gives you that kind of vibe. Right, so let's add them a bookshelf on the side. Let's see, I have lots of different versions here. Let's look for something that would suit the look that we're going for. I don't know if this one would be dark wood enough. Doesn't quite suit the brown of the bedding. Here we can kind of choose, but I don't know that we have that brown. Not really. Okay, let's see. Possibly. That could possibly fit in here. It's not 100% the same brown. Let's see if there's something else. Light wood. Also not, it just doesn't match. That happens from time to time, that you stuck if you're taking wooden colors and you have a different set, then it just doesn't always work. Yeah, it's not the same color at all. Okay, let's say you run into a situation like that. You could always break away and use some color that's completely different. It doesn't have to always be wood. Sometimes you can get something, let's see. Let's check this one out. This one comes in loads of different colors. So let's see. I think this is probably a 4:2, yeah, 4:2 conversion. Let's see. Take this one away. This one is a regular one from the game, and I've downloaded some recolors for it. So because I have the white kind of paintings and posters on the wall, you can go white. That could be one option. Or if you wanted to pick up some of your other colors in the room, you could do that. Remember, in real life, things will not always fit together, and you can kind of mimic that in your gameplay. There's no reason for you to force things if it doesn't fit or if it doesn't suit the color. Then you could use a different color and just have it as well. In real life, things don't always fit, and it's okay, you know. It doesn't all have to fit with each other because you are imitating real life. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so if I cannot find the same color, I will rather break away and use something completely different. But at least let's get something that matches either the white or the black, or picks up the color of the room. Will this? It will, but the wooden legs are a completely different color. You do have the bluish color from the bed, but again the wooden legs. And you know, adding too many different colors can make it look silly or really not give the effect that you're going for. Here's a, no, that's got purple legs. I thought it was black. This is not quite matching the color from the bedding. Here's a plain black. Yes, I would rather go for plain black seating then. So what we're doing is we're picking up the colors from the posters here. This reflects the wall color, maybe that little bit of decoration over there. Let's see, do we have anything else that could match? Match the look that we're going for. I've kind of decided to go for an earthy look over here, so I think we should stick with something like that. If you're going African, okay, I'll show you something with this. I'll put this to the side just so we have it. Let's just move it over there. So be careful of putting things all in a row. Sometimes it's good to have open space in between. But you can always try it out, see what it looks like, and then, you know, move things around. You don't have to have every single part of your walls covered. You could have like a focus area, and then there could be blank wall next to it, and then you can have something on this side again. It's dangerous if you start adding, you know, overfilling. Sometimes less is more, and I mean, you can try these type of things out and you will see, is your room asking for more, or should you quit? You know, should you stop adding? Now this is part of this set, so I'm going to just go with that. And things that I sometimes do is I either add something hanging on top, or I will turn off my grid like this, and then I will try to make it appear as if it's hanging. Let's just change this, as if it's hanging on the dresser. Now this dresser is very low, and if you try to do that you will not be successful because this shirt also has a bar. Of course you can sometimes hide the bar inside, but it might not be successful to do it this way. Something else you can do, I have this loose let's just put it up. You can combine things. So for instance, if you wanted to combine this, make it look like it's something that you can hang clothing on, then you could do that. That's another option. This is just a clothes rack. Or I found if you combining, this is not the right color, but if you're combining cupboards, you can combine cupboards by turning off your grid. That's another option. Let me just see if there's something. I think we're going to struggle with the color if I try to do that, unless we again break away from colors. But you also don't have to use a dresser from the same set. You could use a different dresser, or you can make a built-in cupboard. That could be an option as well. So it really depends on the look that you're going for. Here's a dresser in a similar color. Let's use this one instead. Okay, so if I put the dresser here, now we can use this. And now I'm going to try and see if I can hide the bar. Not sure if I will be successful. Unless you want to make it appear like there is a bar hanging on the front. But will it be logical, and how will the doors open, you know? Anyhow, this is just what I wanted to show you. If maybe there was something that didn't have a bar, you could use this, right? So there's different options, different things you can do. I had a different one in a bright color. Not a recolor of this one. Let's see if I can quickly find it. Okay, I did end up finding it. So here's something, for instance, that you could pretend is hanging on the front. Here's a different one that's brightly colored. So you would have to just check whether it's blocking your sim from using the object or not. But you can always use walkthrough blocks, and you know, then it should not be a problem. But look at how you're changing the look of your dresser by adding clothing. It's almost like what I did here. You could add these type of things. Another thing that I like doing, let's go back to I'll go back to the smaller dresser just to show you this. Let's just get a couple of plants, for instance. Okay, we're gonna check which one of these we want to use. Okay, so let's go back to this smaller dresser we had before. Let's say you want to pretend your Sims have more than one cupboard over here. Yes, some of them would snap to the top of the dresser. Okay, and now I'm going to use my grid off, and I'm going to add more. So You can use the top of your dresser in a, please ignore these lines, they should not be there when we go out of full buy mode. Sometimes it does that, by the way, when you have your grid turned off, but this might be too big. Okay, and sometimes it will still snap to I think this is going into okay, something like that. If you want to move the plants up, you can. You could always use OMSPs as well. Let's see. It's okay, this can stand next to each other. But if by adding an OMSP, you could just, you know, put it anywhere on the cupboard then. It didn't have to snap into place. So there's a lot of different things you can do and different looks that you can create with this. And as you can see, not everything in this bedroom fits together as in it's from the same set, but to me that is actually more realistic because you know, in real life things might not fit together. Let's just see, I had a, where's that rug? Here's a little zebra rug for you, you know. So if you look at it like this, you can see how it's picking up and carrying through the earthy kind of theme that you have going on, more of an African inspired room. Let's see what mirrors we have. This would be more for a child's room. Now I can either go and pick up the black so that it's, you know, again pointing me into a direction where I'm picking up the other colors. That it's generally a good rule of thumb that if you are using, let's say you can't find things that match this brown, and you are breaking away to a different color, to just repeat that color throughout the room, because that way it still looks cohesive, you know. You don't want to use so many different colors that it's kind of overwhelming, not making sense, and looking silly. Okay, so this is more like something that you would have on a little table. And what we could do, let's just repeat this side table over here, maybe in the corner. And just by changing the angle of something, it makes such a difference. It gives a completely different look than if you just put it at a straight angle, you know. And then it's always nice if you kind of bring things together by just adding some touches that kind of repeat something. And look at this now, I'm taking a pillow that's the same. I can either put it in the same direction or I can change the direction. And then it looks completely different compared to, you know, it doesn't look like I'm placing the exact same pillow, but I actually am. I'm just changing the direction of it. So it makes quite a big difference. And there you go. You know, you have a little corner that looks really cozy. inside of the bedroom. And let's quickly look at something for the windows. Now, keeping the African theme in mind, something that I like that you can find with curtains, obviously to download, is you have curtains that pick up the color of the regular bedding. So you could, for instance, add blinds and then add curtains to frame them in. And I'm going to show you the ones that I have that actually pick up the colors of the bedding, because that's really handy. Let me just see, do I have something that's the length that I want it to be? Yes. Okay. And I am going to show this to you now. Now this is not the right color. We'll get to that now. I'm just going to place this real quick. At least change the top part. Okay, now again, look at the angles and see, you know, are you really in line with what you wanted to do? I think this one's a shorter version. I have this in different lengths. Yeah, I actually wanted this one. Hang on. I wanted the longer ones. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of those. I'll fix the colors of it now. Check, yeah. Okay. Alright, let's change the colors. So I want to change this top part to, well, I can either go grayish or a neutral. There's a lot of different colors that I can use here. I went for a kind of a brass color before, and I think I'm going to stick to that. Okay, and then let's go to, so these take on the bedding. Now, I used regular bedding in this, originally on this bed. Yeah, I think it's that one. Let's check. Yeah, so there you go. It does the same thing for the curtains, and that's great. So you don't have to sit here and try and find something neutral that fits in with it, because you already have something that fits with the bedding. And you know, it's not hard to find. There's a lot of different versions of curtains that already have that. These ones are called, if you're looking for them, they come in different lengths. They're called simplistic curtains. This is size 1. Slave to beddings and BG aluminium privacy blinds. Little simmies .tumblr. Okay, so this is on Tumblr, but it looks like you can find them on MTS as well, Mod the Sims. Alright, so easy, and you immediately have an area that looks cozy. And we can maybe put one more thing on the wall over here. So here's kind of a black and white picture that really stands out. It's the same as this one, it's just a recolor that I have. I love recolors, makes such a difference. And you can use it in a completely different way. And I don't think I put any main lights in the bedrooms, but I don't really want to obscure the view for us. But obviously you would you would be adding a main light. Okay, so there's an African themed bedroom that looks quite cozy. And let's move over to this bedroom. All right, so we have an interesting color combination here. It's a very clean look. Let's see what we can add to this bed. I'm going to show you something from here. Okay, so again, this is a Montego bedroom cover, sloppy revised, and there's lots of different versions of it. But here's a bluish one we can use. Okay, so that would be one option. And this set goes along with it, but it doesn't have pillows that actually, interestingly enough, completely match that, right? So this doesn't match. I wouldn't use that. These are folded sheets, so it's not pillows. So let's say we're going for a children's bedroom over here, right? So I think the kind of blanket that's, you know, not on the bed completely would fit in nicely. Now from this side, you know, I've shown you loose things that you can put on, but you can also get completely loose duvet sets that you can just put with a bunch of pillows, and it would cover the bedding that you have completely. All right, it would look, you would not see any of the bedding on the bottom. I will show them to you, I will point them out to you, but I'm not going to do it over here because it depends on what look you're going for. And over here I've decided, okay, it's a children's bedroom, so we're not going to make it completely neat. We want to make it a little bit lived in, like a child's bedroom could be. All right, let's move on and find a few more things. So there's some cute things that you can download that's really like decorations, you know. So for instance, let's, oh, I didn't want to do that. Let's just adjust the height for this. There's something looking like it's placed on a small windowsill, for instance. These are marks, we don't want that. I'll just point this out. Okay, this is not going to fit really in a children's bedroom, but look at this huge rugs, for instance, carpets. It's very artistically made, and there's a lot of different versions of it that you can find, and these are high dovelet house carpets. For instance, this is a 5x7, and it's from Tumblr. Nefal, I don't know if I'm saying this correct. There's a big variety of them, so you know, you could, there's really amazing CC out there that you could use. Just look at all the different versions of this, and it's truly beautiful, you know. So I'm not going to use it in this room, but there's a lot of different options, things that you can do. Okay, these are all Stefor on The Sims Resource is a great creator for like loose pieces of cloth and things like that, if you're ever looking for that. That type of thing, you know, works really well, looks really nice. If you want to perhaps create kind of a messy look or something like that, it's great for those type of things. All right, let's quickly see. No, we don't want that. Don't want workbench. This is not going to fit the color. This can possibly work for a desk. Okay, this is what I'm for. So whether you think this is a toy hamper or a laundry hamper, you know, you can decide about that. And let's see what other goodies we can add to make it look childlike. So here's a pencil bag. I guess we need to decide whether this is a boy or a girl's bedroom, and I think this kind of gives it away as probably a girl's bedroom. That's a kitchen towel. That's not going to work for here. No, that's more not quite the look I'm going for. Here we have some books. This could be a young adult. It could be a child. Okay, let's say we are going for it being a child. Then you could add like just simple toys like this this isn't functional at all. It's just decoration. It's from Beautiful Nerd Kitty, but you know, it just gives kind of a lived-in feel. Like there's not just the regular toys that kids can actually play with, but you have some extra things if you want to pretend this one broke their leg or something. You can add stuff like this. This little paint set. I mean, these are all things that you could add to a desk. You don't have to just place a regular computer on every desk or have a blank desk. You could always add this to one corner, and it really gives here's for instance a blanket. Now, okay, this is from a moon bassinet, but by just turning off your grid, changing the way that something, let's just see if we're at the right height, something hangs. Look at this. You know, it's not related things at all, but just look at the look that you can create with it. You know, you can completely create a different look just by adding things together. So you should try to develop an eye for these type of things. When you go through your catalog, don't just rush through it. Look slowly, look carefully, and see, okay, what can I add to this picture to turn it into something? What can I add to turn this into a lived-in, but not clutter to the point where, you know, it becomes offensive, if I can put it that way. We can put this somewhere else. I wouldn't suggest putting it right here. I think this should perhaps look like laundry. Oh, this could have worked in the African the zebra. Sorry, I'm gonna just jump back there. I forgot I had this. So we change the way that it's standing again. So there you go, with your candle. You can even put it behind. Maybe that would work better. Just zoom in there. There you go. Slipping into the wall. Oh no, it just looks like that. Okay. So there's our little zebra next to the candle. Just to add some African flair. Maybe I should just show you where the zebra is from, because you might want it for yourself. This is from a set by Decor. So the Sims resource, it's a bit of a pain navigating the site, but he's one of the creators on there. I have a lot of his sets, and I really recommend it because it's just so different. A lot of it's got a kind of bohemian look as well. But it's really nice. He has some really cool things, especially if you want to create a look that's different, you know, then that's a really nice choice. Here's a, you know, like some stuff seem a bit random, but it made sense with the set that it came with. So, all right, let's look through the catalog and see what else we could possibly add. Here's a backpack, another backpack. This might suit, be more blend in a little bit better, for instance, than this backpack. I think this looks like it's for a younger style bedroom. Here's another backpack. This is converted from The Sims 3 University Life by Veranka. This one is by Sandy Around the Sims. Okay. So, you know, my stuff, it's just from all over. But there's just amazing things out there. Here's another backpack, for instance. Kid backpack by Sandy Around the Sims. You know, that depends how childlike you would like to go. I guess the kid can have multiple backpacks. Anyway, so you know, building out your deco just makes a big difference. Let's put something on a... Okay, before I go to the wall deco though, you can absolutely layer things on the bed. Now, I told you I would show you the duvet sets. So look at this, for instance. Let's just find a color. I think these are very neutral. Antonia bed blanket. Let's give you more. Mystic rain. And there's a lot of different variants of this. And again, I'm just going to use Lamar shiftable everything, but you could place this on an OMSP. Okay, and if I wanted to layer, I could possibly do that too. I'm not sure if that would work. Let's check. You would have to look for clipping, and I do have some clipping there. Let's see, can we layer this in a way that looks realistic? Not sure. Maybe if I place this one further down. It's kind of a trial and error thing that you have to go through and just see what your end result is, you know. Does it clip too much, or can you layer? But you can layer, technically you can layer things on the bed, and your Sims would still be able to get onto it. It just depends on whether you have something that hides this when your Sim lies down. Otherwise, again, you will have some clipping. But you know, look at the different look that this is creating already from the bed that you started with. There's a huge difference. Here's a messy blanket, Mystic Rain. This doesn't really fit the look we're going for, recolor wise, but I'm sure this is recolorable. There's probably recolors out there. I just don't have them in this save, or I don't have them at all, whichever. I think these don't have recolor. That's green, so that's not really an option. Let's see if there's anything else. The other thing I do is as I'm passing through, if I see something that I think possibly could be used in the bedroom, then I just put it to the side. And, you know, at some stage, I check it out and see, does it fit with the look that I'm going for? You know, just look at the different looks that you can create with this. Let's say I'm taking these off, right? Here I have something else I could add. Now, of course, this blue that I have under it kind of clashes with it, so I would need to change that. But there's so many different options that you can add. This is a simple bed skirt. I'm not sure that it would work with this bed. You will probably have some clipping. But it kind of does work. Okay, so there you have something. If you want to add something like that, that's available as well. This one, it really doesn't say who it's made by. I'm not sure where I got it from, but anyhow, those type of things are all available. And of course, I have many different versions of the Jonesy blanket, and you know, depending on the look that you're going for, how messy you want it to be. You know, there's a very messy one, then there's a pretty much organized one. You know, and it gives completely different looks. Of course, let's just find a color that would match or semi-match this. Here's something that has blue. This could work for a kid, you know. Let's see how it changes the look. I'll just place this one here. Now let's go through and just see. So oh, that clashes. That's not the right color. There's something that picks up some blue. There's something childlike. There's another thing that's for kids. This one I wouldn't say fits with these colors. There's something that could possibly work. No. It's kind of difficult to see on the small pictures, but okay, there's kind of a neutral blue. If you want to go in the shark direction, it kind of picks up the laundry basket we have got going on here. Here's something that also has clouds, like that little blanket has. It's very cute. There's really beautiful options. This is quite nice. Look at this with parrots. I actually kind of like that. I might just go for that. Here's maybe something a bit more adult looking, more neutral. Maybe that one probably fits better than the parrots. But you can go completely kiddie if you want. Here's something that also really matches well. Is it axolotls? Oops, I didn't mean to go out of that. I wanted to actually go closer. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, it's axolotls. That's cute. Let's go for that one. Okay. So we're gonna get rid of these. I showed them to you, but let's say we're going for the axolotls. Okay. Now, I think this is under, these are under couches. If I want to go for some pillows, now these are matched to the Jonesy blanket, which is great because what we used here was from the Jonesy blanket. So we're just going to quickly find that again. It was past, I think. Yeah. I don't know if they're in the exact same order though. Yeah, here we are. So there's the axolotl. Now we can see what we want for the other one. We can choose something plain. Because this is matched to the regular bedding. So plain navy, perhaps. And what's great is you can place it on the bed, and then you can check. Let's just see. Is it flying in the air, or maybe something like that? If you don't like this, you can just use the design tool and continue until you find something you do like, something that you feel much better. Maybe that's kind of a neutral. It's actually from the, okay, maybe let's use that one so I can show you. This would match the previous bedroom set. This is the same as that. But look, by just adding it with different colors, now it doesn't look like it's African inspired anymore. It actually fits with axolotls, you know. This is a completely different look that you get. You could go further. It depends how wild you want to go with pillows. My husband's always complaining about my pillow addiction. Says I just have too many pillows. Did I go too far? No, not yet. There it is. So there you go. And now there's not much of the original set there, but it kind of adds an extra layer to it. So you can do amazing things with beds. You can add so much. And was it under sculptures that I had that little toy dog? Let me just find the toy dog again because I have an idea with that. Now, if you're concerned, if you think that it's going to be possible that your son will not be able to get on the bed with everything there, you know, you could just add walkthrough blocks, or you could add OMSPs and kind of lift the stuff up with that. By the way, these balls, it's a 4-2 football, for instance, Severinka, the Sims resource. So I have quite a few. There's a volleyball, there's an American football ball, there's a basketball. And this is great. It's not functional, of course, but it's great. It just kind of adds a, you know, a little bit extra to your builds. You can add. I'll see if we can use this on a shelf somewhere, just to make it look even cooler. Okay, here's a toy, for instance. So something I like to do is in kitties' rooms, I like to sometimes just add a toy somewhere so it kind of looks like, you know, like a child's bed. So, for instance, this one looks like he's just sitting on the bedpost, you know. And it just makes it look kind of lived in, you know. Now, we didn't decide whether this is a boy or a girl's bedroom. The more stuffed toys you add that look girly, the more girly the room will become, of course. If you just want to go for boy stuff, then the balls, the books, some cars, you know, you would go in a different direction then. So it kind of depends who you're creating the room for. Here's a cute little heart pillow. This one comes with the game, if I remember correctly. Again, just adding things to like the foot of your bed, you know, just makes such a big difference. It's more kitchen-y. This one I'll find a spot for. There's the dog I was originally looking for. Now, probably if you add this to the pillows on the bed, you might have a problem that the sim cannot use the bed. So, you know, that's things to keep in mind. Now again, something you can do is make it appear like the toy is sitting on the windowsill. If you have bigger windowsills, it might be more believable, but alright, something like this. So while we're here, let's look at the curtains and what you can do. So now that I've placed things in the windowsill, I sort of want them to show. So I don't want to cover those windows completely with curtains because it would clip and it just wouldn't look nice. So I'm going to go for a different look over here. And again, you can layer things. Let me just find. Here's a Nikki bedroom curtains. This one also picks up the bedding, which is great. It's very handy. It really helps. Here's some blinds, but that would cover up our toys, which we don't want. Short curtains would probably look silly, so I won't go for that in a bedroom. These are long blinds. By the way, if you're looking for these blinds, Civic walking vertical blinds, long, symptomatic, Sims resource. So this is coming from the Sims resource. Just really nice and handy to have that type of blinds as well. They're very, very usable in loads of builds. So nice. Here's a different one. You know, that's like a V, big V if you like. That type of thing. Simple shade. There's a blind that you could use, for instance, like this. That looks like it's a little bit wider going past the windows. Completely different look for a bedroom. You could have something like this. And then you could have toys or something on the windowsill. And of course, just by placing a curtain on the side. Okay, this is not the right color, but if you wanted to, you know, obviously not with a blind, if you wanted to just do something like that next to the toy on the windowsill, you could as well. There's a lot of different things that you can do. If you're going for a kind of messy look, here's a curtain by Decor. You know, you could just kind of drape it next to toys or something like that, but you would have to look at clipping. All right, let's go for that blind at the window. And then let's look for something that we can put over here. Now, oh, this I actually want to show you. Let's take a shelf that's already in the game. I have one in mind. For instance, this one. Okay, we'll go with the red because it kind of picks up our stuff that we have here. We'll have to change the height a little bit. So let's put this want it too far away from the wall. Okay, let's put this here. Now, if you have this shiftable everything mod by Lamar, which is a complete game changer, look at what you can do. You can add to it. You can absolutely add things to the shelf. So it's completely personalized. It's not just like it would be in one of the other Sims rooms. Because now you're adding things to it, right? You can decide how cluttered you want it. So I've added things to it that's completely loose and actually floating above it. Although if you look at the shelf, you will not realize that. Something else. Look at what you can do with this. So now I'm taking this shelf, just kind of put it in the middle so it makes sense. And look at the combination that you're creating there. And again, you could add to it if you have a book that looks like it's standing up or kind of at an angle. By the way, you get OMSPs that also change the angle of things. So you can take regular books and you can angle it so it's at a different angle, and then you could place it on the shelf. You could just add it to the shelf. And you can really create amazing things like that. Of course, none of these are functional, it's just deco, but it just gives such a nice look to your builds. All right, let's add a desk here. Let's see what do we have that we can add to this. I'm just looking at the bed that I have here. I think this would go the best. So there's some scissors, for instance. Now, turning off the grid again. Changing the direction and placing the books there on the corner. And voila, you have a different look. Now let's say you wanted to make it more kiddie friendly. This is Decor, by the way, it's not functional. So I'm going to put a little car there. And this is the problem. Look, I didn't check the angle, and now you have things floating up in the air. So that's just something that I would recommend you really make sure that you are checking at the right angle to see that you don't have things floating. Because it might from a certain angle look like you have the books on the shelf or on the table, and then you don't actually have it there. So just to save yourself some heartache later on, just check from different angles and see that it's actually looking believable. Okay. Let's add something more. Let's see what this would look like if I added it. It really depends on you how much clutter you want to add. Some people do not like clutter. They're very minimalist in their ways, and if they have to add clutter to their Sims, they also don't like it. But I feel like it gives it a very cozy feel if you do have some clutter and things that look like, you know, look like it was placed there. And it kind of gives the room character. So this really looks like some school project, and like just your overall like untidy, messy kid, you know, that's adding things to their bedroom that, you know, maybe is a bit much. And then let's add a chair. Just some friendly advice. I think most of you know this, but the chairs and the desk. If you want the chair to be actually usable at the desk, then you should place it with the grid on. It's really difficult to place it so that in live mode, whatever you want to call it, the chair, you know, connects to the desk if you're just placing it off the grid. So I don't recommend placing things off the grid. It usually doesn't work out very well. I just don't recommend it. Okay, so I have downloaded some extra colors for this table. It doesn't actually come with all these colors. There's our little paint set. That's on. And then let's put some bedside tables. So these would be bedside tables. Now, if you're placing some things with the grid and some without, you can have some clipping. The bedside tables, generally, if you place them far enough away from the bed, you can do it off the grid and it would be okay. But you do run the risk of a sim telling you that it's either too close or too far from the bed. And that can be a bit of a pain. So just clipping wise, you know, you have to play around with it a little bit. You have to be willing to. Let's move the bed slightly to the side. We do have the space. But I'm gonna do it with, oh, no, if we move the bed, all of this will need to be moved. I'm actually not going to do that. I am not going to do that. That's a pain. Now look at this. If I wanted to place it with a grid, it would not work well. But if I turn off my grid, then it's fine. So unfortunately that means I need to move the whole thing. But it's okay, you know, playing around with these type of things, it takes time, but it's also fun. I actually enjoy it. I have loads of fun doing these type of things. Let's see now if we can place this successfully. Yes. Okay, it's alright. The blanket can be like that because no, it's not perfect state. Let's add perhaps a standing light on the side. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. There's a kitty's lamp, but it really doesn't fit the rest of the look of the room. The wood is dark though. There's not a different color for that. This is not really fitting the rest of the look. Maybe. This comes with the game, actually. Possibly. I don't like the height. Maybe. There's lots of different things that you can do, and there's lots of different looks you can go for. What an interesting looking light. Wow. It has flags on. That's kind of cute. I don't know that it specifically goes with the axolotl theme, but the colors kind of work in a way. Okay, so either this or this. This probably looks a bit more serious. What about if we change the color? Yeah, so just by playing around a little bit, comparing things, you know, this doesn't really give me the height I want. I wanted something that was a little bit higher up, if I can put it that way. There we go. I knew I would find a spot for that. So yeah, it depends what look you're going for. If this is too cluttered for you, you can spread it out. Doesn't need to be this cluttered, for instance. You know, don't have to go completely crazy with it, but at the same time I feel like it adds some character to the room. Let's look for something above the bed. See what we have. Now depending on obviously whether you go boy or girl, you could, you know, really personalize this. Depending also on the age of the kid. If you, for instance, really wanted this to look like a kid bedroom, you could add things like this. This is from, by the way, Homemade Seasonal Streamers, The Sims 4 at EA Luminaire. So this was obviously converted for The Sims 2. You know, but again, I need to remind myself of this often. Less is more. It's nice to add like perhaps 1 or 2 corners that have some clutter, but then in some instances you should kind of cool it, just to balance a little bit, because you don't want it to look so overwhelming that you actually don't know where to look to enjoy the things that you did add. Now, if you have a very sporty sim, of course, you could decorate the room with sports posters and things like that. If you're just going for, because we added the paint, we could always go for, you know, just kind of an arty bedroom and say, this child is really into art. If you want to go seasonal, you could do that as well, because these are seasonal. So let's say we're going for art. This one, for instance, is an easel from Decor. It works just like an easel, but it looks like a little, you know, kind of a little board that you could draw or color on. And it's just more kiddie friendly. So, you know, you could put a traditional easel here, but this makes it look like a child's bedroom, which is the look that we said we're going for. Here's a pencil pot, for instance, if you wanted to add stuff like that. Decorative stationery watercolor pencil mug. The Sims 4 mesh by, oh my goodness, I'm gonna butcher this. Okay, it's from Tumblr, and it's been converted by Mrs. Revel, something like that. And there's a lot of different recolors. I think this is my favorite one. So, but there's loads. Really depending on the look that you're going for, and it's really nice. It just gives such character, you know, when you're adding that. And when I build functional schools, I always add that to the teacher's desk. So yeah, there's just so many things that you can add. So let's see, what else can we add? I try to, you know, have balanced bedrooms where you have something everywhere, so it doesn't feel empty on one side and really busy on the other. Now, since we built a kiddie's bedroom, where's that carpet? I have some really nice rugs, but there's a specific one that I'm for. It's not these, but this is nice as well. By the way, this is Ferrylicious rug. Not sure. It's something from The Sims 2 Pets, or compatible with pets, I'm not sure, but it's yeah, I have all the expansions, so it's not that it's only usable with pets. No. Let's see. I know that I had some more really nice rugs. I think it's this. Yeah, but I wanted, let's just check what colors we have, because this clashes a little bit with the rest of the theme. Kind of cute. There's a cloud. It fits with a cloud blanket that's sticking out. I put it a bit close to the door, so some of the carpets will not work. Yeah, I think I will go for this one. It's a little bit more neutral. It's a little bit more neutral. So this one is Rid the Summer Kids Rug. I mean, if you type this into Google, you will be taken to the right spot. You know, I've tried this many times where there's not a lot of detail on the description, but then when I type in just the main name of it, then I do get taken to the right spot. So you could, you know, try that out and see if you can. But it has a lot of recolors and it's really handy for kids' rooms. Okay, so let's check on this side what else we can add, just to, because this wall is now completely empty. So I feel like, you know, we either would need to move some things over there, or you would need to add a few things there, otherwise it's really bland. So let's see. There's something that can work. Doesn't necessarily go with the axolotl theme, but if it's a kiddie's bedroom, this could work. Wall stickers. Let's see, what size is this? Yeah, I mean, this type of thing could work for a kid's room. It's typical things that, you know, when they start plastering everything they can find on the wall. These are also cute. It definitely doesn't go with this theme. But this is also by Decor. I found him on this, him or her, I'm not sure. Sorry, I keep saying him, but maybe it's not a him. on the Sims resource, and it's really cute, the little monkeys. I think it also has a bookshelf that has some monkeys hanging from it in that set, and it's just really nice. Okay, these are more like animal foods. If you're really going for a boys' room, look at this. You know, this comes with the game, and I think people ignore it, but look at how cool that could be for a boys' bedroom. That could definitely work. What's this? This looks like a poster. So here's some boy band poster, for instance. You know, when they start kind of becoming a teen, it depends on what you're going for. If it's really a little kid, then they will probably just have like their kiddie drawings on. They won't have teen posters, but they might kind of start, you know, going in some direction where you have some posters. Here's some. This is also by Decor. Some little dolls. You know, typical how kids kind of start hanging everything on everything, you know. And look here, it looks like it's hanging from the painting, almost like they kind of connected it to it without their parents agreeing. We'll see. This is just kind of me putting it to the side. Block Robot from TF Week. I don't know. It's the Sims 3 to the Sims 2. It's from the Sims 3 store by Lady Sim Player. Okay, so that should kind of help you track it down if you're looking for it. You can decide if you want to kind of have it a little bit lower so a child would be able to play on it. That type of thing. And then I would say maybe let's add something from here that makes it look kiddie friendly. Like a kiddie's desk or something. You could just add like a toy bin, for instance. Let's kind of continue the cloud theme from there. You know, just something plain and simple like this. And look at the effect that you're having, you know. There's just so much you can do with these type of things. Again, adding more toys or adding shelves with little toys. For instance, let me just find that. For instance, something like this. And again, just manually placing it. You know, it just adds a bit of character to your game. And even this is actually something for a toddler to play with, but you could just add it on the shelf. You know, this could be like toy pots and pans for a little kid to play with, for instance. None of it's functional. Oh yeah, this is a small one. There's another doll. Little collectible. Maybe a bit big. Oh, it snaps to the... Okay. Anyway. Let's find some smaller things we can perhaps put here just to fill it up. So if this is an arty kid, then this is maybe a good choice. So this is Arts and Crafts Clutter. doesn't say much about who created it. Now the problem with shelves are that they snap, the things snap to it. So what you could do is you could literally fill up the shelves with things. This is a little thing with blocks. This is, by the way, just out of interest, Block Truck by Sim Addict. Toddlers can actually play with it and gain logic. But let's say you didn't want to specifically do anything with it because under the shelf it would not really be functional. You could still place it there. And then this is all painty goodies. Okay, let's go with this. But I think it might be too wide for the shelf. Yeah, it will cut into it. But look how cool that is. Logic toy by Decor. So actually it's something that toddlers can play with. Here's another one. I just want something that fills up the shelves real quick so that I can place things where I want. We can use anything, it doesn't really matter. Let me just see that okay, I filled up all the slots. Now I can go, this is a little trick. I filled up all the slots, now I can go and I can place this where I want to place it, right? So let's say I want to place it there. Then I remove the boats and this stays. So let's just put something on this top shelf as well so that we don't have whatever we wanted to place, so that we don't have a problem with things snapping where we don't want them to snap. Let me just see what else I can find quickly. Things are too big. What's this? Okay, here's for instance another picture with pencils. So let's say I want to place this picture with pencils over here on this shelf. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all these extra things that I just used to fill up my space. I just have to be careful not to click on the wrong thing. Yeah, there we go. So now I've created my own little custom shelf with everything that I wanted on it, and I didn't really use any of the slots. Now you will get parents who come and put their mail down here before they pay the bills, because those slots are technically open. Okay, but yeah, this is just if you want to decorate and you keep on having stuff specifically go to the slots and you don't want it to, then this is just a little trick. Just fill it up with something else and then move your things where you need it and remove them, and voila, you have a custom shelf that's decorated the way you want it. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope that this gave you some ideas and inspiration of all the cool things that you can do. Originally, I just wanted to do bed deco in this video, but I think it's very nice when you can actually look at a fully decorated bedroom around it and see how it grows from nothing to something. And there's just so many cool things out there for this game. You can really customize it to your liking up to the finest details. And that's wonderful, you know, for such an old game. That truly is amazing. Alright, so let's have, before we go, a quick overview of what we did. The first bedroom. This is a much more formal looking bedroom, and everything is neat and tidy and in its place, and by some loose pillows we completely converted the original bedding. We added some cozy elements to create a corner that looks peaceful where you can relax with a good book. And If we wanted to give it a little bit more personality, make it look like there is a female living here that was perhaps rummaging through her cupboard looking for some laundry, looking for some outfits that fit, then this would be an option. And then let's say this is hubby's laundry that's not packed away yet or something like that. The maid just brought it from the laundry room. Something like that. It just gives a little bit of extra character. And something else that we added here that I just want to remind you of. Loose pillows on a couch or a bench that match the bed. Just makes it look like everything is a bit more coherent. And then you can, if you have some open shelves, add a little bit of decor. A plant is always a good thing. Something like a hair dryer or some makeup can really add a nice look. The next bedroom, we added picture frames above the bed, which you will fill up with your Sims custom photos. I love doing this, by the way. And we also added some loose elements to our bedside tables to make them look different from each other, so it's not the boring same old bedside table just copied. And I showed you what you could do with lights. It doesn't just have to be bedside lamps that match each other on the bedside all the time. And we added a little bit of clutter just to make it personal. We added some cat goodies, and I showed you some CC that you can download that even though it's a cat toy, it actually looks amazing if you add a plant to it. Can give a really earthy, down to earth, looks like it's just been washed up from the beach look. And then we also added in the same theme decoration to our window, and I showed you alternatives to using regular curtains, combining picture frames together. This is actually a set, but you could put loose frames and get the same effect. And then by adding your cupboards together, you could create something completely different and give it a really nice look. Also by hanging some loose clothing on the front, and then a nice mirror, nice plant, just makes all the difference. A rug is always nice for coziness, and adding a nice loose chair at the bottom of the bed can work. Some just walk around. You could always add a walk-through block, and then loose scatter pillows, a loose cover that doesn't even come with them, but just picks up the earthy tones. Loose pillow just makes such a difference. And then over here we decided to go for a bit of an African look, or I decided and you had to just tag along. But we couldn't match the color of the bed set, so we picked up other earthy tones, and we just kind of repeated them within the room. We added some clutter to the top over here, and we added more than one cupboard, even though they don't match 100%. It still looks realistic, like it could be. We hung something on the cupboard again, and we repeated some of the elements from the bed just by adding scatter pillows. And I showed you how you could use the side of the bed, anything that's sticking out, to add little details that just make it look lived in. And how you could match, you can download curtains that pick up the covers of the bed, and it adds a really nice touch. And then we made a kitty's room with lots of clutter. and I showed you how you could use a custom shelf and fill up the slots with other things so that you can place things off the grid and just remove them again. And some nice custom content that you can use together in different ways, like this. It's not things that came together originally, but it adds a lived-in look. And it makes it look cozy and inviting, and you feel like you just want to go sit and play with the toys that's scattered all over. Alright, so thank you guys so much for joining me today. As always, I hope that you will be blessed and that you will have many happy hours simming. And I hope that I've inspired you to decorate your heart out when you're decorating a bedroom, and to think of new and innovative ways that you can use decorations together and combine them to make new things.